And welcome back, everyone, to What If Week. Today's What If comes to us from an unknown person because I somehow forgot to write the name down of who gave me the suggestion. These things happen. What are you going to do? If you were the one who gave me the suggestion or someone who ever did, just let me know. I'll try to do the right thing and put you in the description box. But what if Trunks went back and we've done what if he went to Red Ribbon Army timeline? But what if he went to the Saiyan Saga timeline, which, as you can see here, consisted of when the beginning of Dragon Ball Z happened, so right when Rad showed up, to the end of the fight with Vegeta and Goku. Excuse me. Ugh. So, what if he ended up accidentally showing up then? The thing is here is that I think his motivation would be to start with. His motivation would be to say, first off, and more importantly, he shows up, realizes the day's like, oh crap, baskets! Now realistically, in a show about fighting guys fight in midair and turn to powerful force by screaming, realistically, Trunks would literally just hop back in the time machine to try again. That's what he would really do. So for this to have any sort of actual bearing on a story or change something, Trunks' time machine would have to be limited in what it could do. Maybe its fuel is low and he maybe has to go to Capsule Corp and find the fuel if he can. Whatever the fuel may have been. Assuming that they even had the fuel at that point. Or does he have to wait the long haul or wait the long game out for the fuel? Let's say, for the sake of argument, he knows the fuel will be developed in maybe about a little while. So he has to just kind of like hang out, just be sure not to do anything, not get in trouble. Okay. And he's kind of like, surviving off the land. Maybe he uses a little bit of money that his mom gave him. Whatever. Because honestly, at that point in the future, money really doesn't mean much. So maybe they do, because it is Bulma. Bulma is like one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest person on the planet. So he probably has cash on him. So maybe he's getting food, and he looks at Capsule Corp, and from the distance, just like, don't worry, I promise I'll protect everyone. Now Trunks would be tempted when he knows Raditz has shown up, and Goku eventually would be killed, to step in and help. But he knows also that up until the events of the Android Saga, he doesn't want to change the timeline drastically, right? If he can help it. It would be then, and he's just thinking about if I do, I know, and Goku eventually would still be killed. So you would get that year in between where he's just thinking, I could have helped Goku. I could have easily, I kept him alive. Maybe I could have even trained him. But it's just not. I can't afford to change the timeline too much. And then he stops, and he realizes it's about change, because he's trying to change the timeline for the better. He realizes wait. If I'm stuck here for at least another year, that gives me time. I could find his lab. I could stop them before they even created. Now, I had to look into it about how they found Gero's lab. And Trunks never, as far as I know, Trunks never actually knew the name of that it was Gero. He just knew that it was a scientist from the Red Ribbon Army that ultimately went and made the androids. And apparently Dragon Ball Z made a joke about it. It's like, why didn't you tell me? Why you didn't ask? So the question is, does he know where Gero's base is? And the answer is not right now. He doesn't. They found it by tailing Gero. Now, Bulma did know who Gero was. Why was Dr. Gero here? Yeah. And I believe she knew where his lab was. But if he doesn't know it's Dr. Gero, it's not one of those things where he can just sneak in, click, click, click. Okay, there it is. Woohoo! Death to you all. So he's gotten. So that being said, he might be able to, through some channels, find a list of members of the Red Ribbon Army who would have been around to be scientists, and he would probably go to each location that he could, including eventually Gero's lab. And he goes, and he knock, knock, and he's like, what are you doing here? Who are you? He's obviously Gero would still be very early in the process of doing the androids. That's of creating the androids. But that being said, he would more than likely have already started, maybe even have Lapras and Lazuli on the knocked out, and before he's even tried to make the androids. And Trunks immediately just like, it's no. It's like, I'm not gonna let you get away with this. This isn't happening this time. It just kills him. And so but now he's got to make the choice about killing Lapis and Lazuli, which is their names, because he just sees the schematics and he sees the work on them, but he also he realizes something quickly as he sees Gero like in half, just crawling. I was like, wait, what? You haven't even started on them yet? It's like, how did you know? Answer the question. It's like, no, I hadn't started. I was going to begin today. And he just dies. And so he actually now has to make a choice. They're not cyborgs, obviously, but they're called the androids. They haven't been augmented. They're not android. They're not dangerous yet. And so, and like he's looking at him, he's got those hated memories, watching them kill Gohan, watching them kill the people he cared about. But they're at the same time, they're innocents. They haven't done anything. And he just kind of like, and he basically just kind of cuts the anesthetic, whatever's keeping them asleep, and he nopes out of there. And there's, what happened? I don't know. It's like, oh God, what is it? And I see Gero just like, I was like, oh God. So, mind you, they probably are a little bit more hardened than that, given the fact that they, I think they were runaways. I think they either volunteered or were taken involuntarily. I don't know exactly if they volunteered for the procedure or not, actually. I know they were runaways and they were augmented, but I actually don't know if it was voluntary, I'm trying to think of a character who went through a voluntary, like Captain America, or if it was involuntary, like Wolverine, and comic Wolverine, not movie Wolverine. Which there's someone who did voluntarily go through the process. Either way, though, they kind of just go and they're like, oh God, we gotta get out of here. And so Trunks is watches them leave, waits till they get far enough, and just boom, blows up the entire base, including Cell, who would be at the bottom, because he just nukes the thing pretty much. And so Trunks then eventually would get the fuel for his, time machine. But before he does, he realizes that he still can't beat the androids in his time. And so, he lets the events play out, watches from a very far distance away. Everything's all well and good. Then they leave for Namek. And then with Namek basically taken care of, or Namek, everyone left for Namek, and Popo being the only one there, Trunks actually realizes, now, does Trunks know about the hyperbolic time chamber? I don't think he does, because he was surprised about the 1 year training when Goku brought it up. So I do not think he knows about the hyperbolic time chamber. He might know about Kame's play, the Kame's lookout. He might know about that, absolutely. In fact, he probably does. But he almost certainly doesn't know about the hyperbolic time chamber. So maybe he just spends some time doing some training before leaving and going back to the future. And so, surprisingly, that means he is able to barely beat the androids. It might take a little bit. If he got to the hyperbolic time chamber at any point in time, he'd be able to take care of the androids no problem, because we saw what happened when he got just 1 year of training in there. Otherwise, he probably isn't going to be able to beat the androids, or it's just going to be more of a struggle. Luckily, if he keeps surviving the fights with them, he'll get enough Zenkais to ultimately overtake them. So I think it'll be a struggle, but he'll ultimately come out on top. Because we know that changing the past in this circumstance doesn't, in fact, change the future. Because multiverse is a bitch. Because that's basically how that went down. But what does that mean for the rest of the series? Well, Goku would show up. He would take care of Frieza. Goku even said he was the one who was going to take care of Frieza with instant transmission, all that. And King Cold. Unfortunately, he does get the heart virus in this case still. Nothing can change that. And he would die. However, there's no androids here. So he just dies natural causes. They can't bring him back with the Earth Dragon Balls. I actually don't know if you can bring someone back with the Namekian Dragon Balls if they died of natural causes. I think you can. So maybe they just kind of communicate with New Namek and ask if they can bring Goku back. Uh, I mean, maybe. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And so eventually Goku would be brought back. Eventually the heart virus does get a medication. Goku's forced to eat it, whether it's grape or not. And yeah, you wouldn't get Cell or the androids, so you would get it's about you get the 3 years plus a 10-year gap of nothing happening. Hercule does not become the savior of the world. He's just well-known martial artist. Goku is still alive, so now that means he is much older here than he is in the original, because physically speaking, he's about, how long has he been dead? He's been dead for almost a year with the Saiyan Saga, 7 with the the Cell 2 Buu Saga. So he's about 8 years younger physically than he actually is. Give or take a couple days. Or a couple weeks to a month. So how much stronger do people get, or how much weaker are people in this version of the story if they don't get all that training in that time frame? Starting out, I don't see Piccolo really needing to fuse with Kami here. So, by the way, is Cell still a threat here? No, because then again, I have to stop on thinking on that real quick. Cell is destroyed in this present timeline, which didn't kill him. So Cell would still exist because of the whole multiverse bullshit. Okay, so I do have to backtrack a little bit there. I didn't take that into consideration until just now. So Cell shows up, and now granted, Cell will still take a while to show up. And this means Goku is able to still train pretty hard. Vegeta does ultimately get Super Saiyan in space. Not train pretty hard, but he's able to consistently train, keep Super Saiyan going, doing all that. And so in that case, then Piccolo does have to fuse with Kami because Goku isn't strong enough to take on Cell. And, with him and Cell probably meet for the first time. Boom, boom, they're going at it. Goku is pretty strong and arguably stronger here because he didn't have to work, because he died, but then came back with the Dragon Balls. So I'm not sure. I keep forgetting this, so remind me. I don't believe you get a Zenkai from coming back from the dead. I don't think. But I could be wrong on that. My guess is you do not get a Zenkai from coming back from the dead. Because otherwise, that's a whole level of power scaling that I have not been taking into consideration when we get to, when we talk about the Saiyan Saga and all that. I don't think so. So Goku still trained fairly hard, all things considered. He trained for a while with King Kai on his planet, probably. And then he got brought back and get training again. So again, I would actually ironically put him stronger here than he is in the original. A, because he doesn't have the heart virus again this time. He's been taken care of. B, because he's also had, just time on his hands to train. Gohan, Piccolo, a lot of other people, though, they are not as strong. Vegeta is probably about as strong, maybe a little weaker. Goku, I should actually take back, is probably about where he is. Maybe a little weaker, but it's a little weaker with the caveat that he doesn't have to worry about the heart virus. So I am taking back what I said. Everyone else, that was pretty weak compared, because they didn't have to train for the androids. So congratulations, Trunks. You weakened everyone. Piccolo would, though, show up to Kami's when, the threat of Cell happens. Because Kami probably calls him up there. And it's like, okay, we must fuse together. And it's like, you're sure about this? Like, your body will be the main one. My time as Guardian is over. And so fuses with Piccolo, who, again, wouldn't be as strong here as he was in the original. Because he didn't get that year worth of training. But he's still strong enough to, when he finally meets Cell and teams up with Goku, they are able to overwhelm him. Now, in this fight, Goku would be struggling. He almost gets drunk by Cell. Cell is like, I'm looking for something. And now they don't know anything about the androids, and Cell doesn't realize the androids have been wiped out of this timeline. So he tries to hightail it out of there, but with Goku and Piccolo there, they are, he is actually a bit outmatched. So he tries a solar flare, but Goku closes his eyes. And, Kamehame Solar Flare! And then Goku just, and Piccolo's like, oh, my eyes! So long! Suck! And then Goku just using Jin's transmission, because he's sensing energy. So long! Suck! Basically, he does his Cell Games instant Kamehameha, but on but imperfect Cell. And basically just boom! Just basically his limbs fall down to the ground. Now, is Cell smart enough to get rid of the one nucleus that he needs to, or the one cell, if you will, to be able to regenerate in this case, to save it? Normally I'd say yes, but I don't think he was expecting it here. Also, it was the one cell that did in fact survive, and that was honestly by sheer coincidence. Let's be honest. He lucked his ass out on that. Otherwise, I don't think he's like gonna regrow from like an arm or something like that. So I do think Cell is completely annihilated. But just to be safe, they do annihilate the other limbs. So with that being said, they do eventually get Dende to be the new Guardian as always. And again, you would have more or less 7 years apiece, yeah. Now granted, Vegeta does want to go toe-to-toe with Goku. So there is a fight that happens. They duke it out in base form for a while, and then just let's see what you've got, Kakarot. And say, all right, you want to go, cheats? Fine. Boom. And they power up, and they're roughly in the same ballpark with each other. I'll say this, because Goku did get a chance to fight Cell, he's probably actually a little stronger. He still edges out Vegeta. And so they duke it out. Vegeta, let's use a hypothetical number here, 300. If Vegeta's 300, Goku's about 330, 350. 350 at max. So he's not that far off from Vegeta's not that far off from him. And in fact, if he hadn't, he'd be around equal to Goku. But Goku had the added advantage of going up against a superior foe to help give him a Zenkai. So, and Vegeta just, hates, he's like, damn you! This isn't over! Like, you bet. But, yeah, you want to duke it out anytime you want to, Vegeta. And so, they spend the next 7 years training, duking it out. There is no reason to actually use the Hyperbolic Time Chamber in this version. So, do I think they get perfected Super Saiyan on their own? Yes, I do. I think that 7 years, yeah, even without the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Perfected Super Saiyan guaranteed. And I do think they, at the minimum, are closing on Super Saiyan 2. 7 years, Super Saiyan 2, I think is very likely. Unfortunately, though, there's one character's getting the shaft in this version. It's Gohan. Gohan doesn't even get Super Saiyan in this. Like, there's just no story beat reason it would still happen. And so when you get to the Buu Saga, Goku, also been training Goten, who probably does get more, might even be stronger than Gohan because he does naturally learn Super Saiyan. Apparently, like, it's just part of his genes. Like, literally just changed his hairstyle one day. And she's just like, my son's a delinquent. But seriously, he's, so I think Goten actually surpasses Gohan by a huge margin because he does get Super Saiyan. And not to say Gohan is weak, like, he could still beat any one of the other, like, human Z fighters. Absolutely, he could. And he's still stronger than any normal human on the planet by a gap, a huge canyon-sized gap. But he's not, he's not the fighter he was, and nor would he be in this version, I think. Because in a future that's been, spared the androids, Gohan never had to get stronger like that. And so, when he becomes kind of the Great Saiyan Man, first off, there's the incident with the Golden Fighter issue. He wouldn't do that. In fact, if anything, he wraps himself up in like in a turban or something like that, and then does the boom, does that. But then Videl's just like, turns into Great Saiyan Man. She's stalking him for a while. Eventually, she convinces him to teach her how to fly. And she goes back to their place. And Goten would already know how to fly because Goku's there. Goku's also a farmer. So when he said, oh, Gohan, cool. Oh, who's your friend? This is Videl, Dad. She kind of wanted me to teach her how to fly. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. It's like, wait, why do I know you? Keep in mind, Churchill's not the savior of the world. Videl doesn't get any special training or rights to, help the police here. So, no. which is almost certainly the only reason she was allowed to, is because Hercule was the savior of the world. It's like his offspring must be amazing. Like, that's literally the only reason I can think of, because otherwise there's no reason that girl should have been in combat. Not to say she's weak or anything, she's just, there was no logical reason to send a teenager like her, who was a good fighter and stronger than most people her age, but didn't have anything special besides her lineage. Nepo baby, it means you're my favorite Nepo baby, Videl, and I love you. So, yeah. And so Goku's like, wait, I recognize you. It's like, why is that hair? It's like, wait, you're that Goku, aren't you? It's like, huh? You won the, was it the 25th? Or 23rd. I want to say it was the 23rd. I want to say it's the 23rd, but I always forget which Budokai it is. It's the 23rd Budokai that he won. Anyway, you're the winner of that. Is like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago, but yeah, that's me. It's like, whoa. And she's, what? And she seen, I don't know if there's any footage of that fight now that I think about it. Were they recording the fights back then? Because they recorded the fights of Mr. Satan as time went on. I don't know. Maybe they did have, but then like some of the footage went out or whatever. And so she's like, whoa. And it's like, yeah, wait, you're Gohan's dad? It's like, oh yeah. I mean, why didn't you tell me? You never asked. Okay, fine. Fair point. But anyway, yeah, it's all right, cool. And so Goten, says, oh, can I train with you? It's like, oh, I don't see why not. And so Gohan explains, flying. Goten shows a ki blast. Excuse me. And she's just struggling. And eventually she learns to fly, gets her crush on him, cuts her hair. By the way, do you like pigtail Videl better, or do you like short, tomboyish haircut Videl better? I go for the short, tomboyish haircut myself. I like that design better. Honestly, her pigtails really made her look a lot more juvenile than she was. Yeah, she had a bit of an attitude at first, but you can kind of understand why she did. Anyway, the World Martial Arts Tournament would show up, and Videl's participating. Gohan I think she does make Goku participate too, just for the extra money. Granted, you could make an argument argument as to why he hadn't been participating. Chi-Chi didn't think about it, but when Videl brings it up, Chi-Chi's like, Goku, we need the extra money. He's like, okay, all right, fine. And then, Vegeta hears about this, like, you really think you're getting away with this, Kakarot? Don't you make me laugh. And so, yeah. Now, Kid Trunks, is he stronger than Goten? Yeah, well, because Goku's there to train Goku is there to train Goten. Vegeta almost certainly would be upping Trunks' training a little bit, and both can turn Super Saiyan. Ooh, that's a good question. Trunks was the older one, so he was naturally just a little bit stronger, at least that was the way he interpreted. He knew he was a little stronger, but he didn't know if it was because he was older. Again, slightly more developed body, that will do it for you. That's why Goku couldn't do Super Saiyan 2 as in his kid form initially in GT, because his body, as he put it, it's no good. This body's too weak. My older body was more developed. It could handle the strain. That was basically it. So, with that being said, I think Goten is the slightly stronger one. So, with that being said, Goku, the preliminaries happen. I think, though, Trunks is willing to fight a little bit more dirty tactics, kind of. Or at the very minimum, willing to take advantage of openings that Goten normally wouldn't. So he does ultimately get the win on Goten still. Then, obviously, you get through the preliminaries. Shin shows up. Gohan can't turn Super Saiyan, despite the fact that Kibito and Shin know about it. He just powers up. I do think Gohan is still stronger than either Shin or Kibito, though. I think that's very likely. Here's the thing. I don't think his power has waned like it did in the original. In fact, if anything, he still probably gets a good workout with his dad every once in a while, trains with his younger brother. I think Goku keeps him in shape. But because he's just never had anything that would allow him to access Super Saiyan. Although, would Videl going, Videl turning, getting her ass kicked, that might trigger him. And so maybe he does turn Super Saiyan for the first time there, and Goku has to keep him in line. It's like, whoa. So maybe then go on, he remembers the feeling, turns Super Saiyan, and Yamun Spovich got him. I think that's actually a logical, not excuse, but a logical explanation you could give. And so they seal the energy. Like I said, he wouldn't be weaker here. If anything, he's probably an equivalent to what he was at the Cell Games. So that means if Gohan Super Saiyan 2 will fill up half a Buu, Gohan Super Saiyan here will fill up a quarter of Buu. Which, unfortunately, though, for Buu, means that Buu Saga is almost certainly not happening. Vegeta, while still has, negative feelings towards Goku and stuff under his belt, is nowhere near as susceptible to the Majin here. A, we know he let himself be taken over. But B, he also knows that this has pushed him to get a lot stronger. And Goku and him do train on the regular. They probably have an in-between between this Saga relationship and their full-on Super relationship, where they're more close. They're definitely more rivals here and less antagonistic to each other, particularly Vegeta, not less antagonistic. So he wouldn't let himself be taken over. They both have Super Saiyan 2, so they can handle Dabura and Yakon without any issue. Gohan, though, not so much. Yeah. So when Gohan takes on Dabura, he is not able to beat him, but Dabura realizes that he's still strong enough that he can't really take this kid. He won't be able to put this kid down. And so eventually they're able to get all the way to the bottom of Babdi's ship. They would probably duke it out with Dabura, who maybe ends up freezing Gohan, but Goku then boom, puts a hole right through his chest or whatever, or blasts him into the Buu's egg, and just, and then Shin, knocks out Babdi. And, they said everyone who was frozen by Dabura, Krillin, and Piccolo specifically, would be released. If you then fast forward to, and then, Shin gives her thanks, great. If you fast forward to Super, surprisingly, I don't see much different happening in Super. Well, let me rephrase that. Fast forward to the Battle of the Gods. I don't see much different happening here. Goku might be knocking on the door of Super Saiyan 3, but he's not there yet. And so he only goes Super Saiyan 2, gets his ass kicked. Vegeta would still go, "That's my ball bomb!" Well, he wouldn't because Boo's not here. So that being said, Goku would still be the Super Saiyan God. That fight would go the same. Then you go into Super Resurrection F, where they would both have Super Saiyan Blue. That would all go the same. It's weird to say, actually, but most of, if not all of, Super goes the same. I mean, you don't get Gotenks, so there's never any fusion that's not Potara in this. But honestly, at this point, the only thing you're lacking in this story is Super Saiyan 3. So, and because everything else, I think, would play out almost identical. They would have to learn about Potara fusion, but they would still be able to turn to Vegito against Goku Black. Goku still has Kaioken here, so anytime he's using Kaioken is the same. Vegeta is roughly speaking the same. Honestly, the only difference here is that Gohan doesn't have Ultimate Form. At best, he's got Super Saiyan. He might even hit, say, Super Saiyan 2 at some point. Goten is maybe stronger than Trunks by a little bit, but the only big differences that would come is near the end when we get to the Tournament of Power. Why? Because there are no androids here. None. So you'd only have Goku Vegeta, Gohan Piccolo, Krillin Tien, Roshi, and Frieza would obviously be thrown into the mix. What happens with those other two spots? Because 17 is kind of the OG of that fight, of that entire thing. He is not the OG, but the MVP. He's the MVP of that entire arc, pretty much, 17. And 18 still put her work in, too. You'd probably have to get Yamcha? I'm guessing. Because they're none of the, unless you're willing to bring back King Cold. But yeah. And then Chaozu? Like, Chaozu's psychic abilities could come in handy. He was even able to temporarily bind a god-enhanced base form Goku for a little bit. So his psychic abilities would be impressive. But without, say, 17 and 18, like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sure they can beat Jiren without 17. Why do I say that? Well, when we remember how that fight went in the anime, which is what I follow, he put up multiple shields to protect Goku and Vegeta. That's not there. So they're either getting knocked the fuck out of the ring, or they're getting even more messed up than before. Even if I don't factor that in, which I should, then you'd also get like the final fight between Goku, Vegeta, and 17, where 17, it basically kept did the whole kamikaze run on Jiren, where he put the dome, where he's about to self-destruct. He's like, you're gonna feel this one, and poof, and he put the shield up, which was a badass moment. And then he's the only one left standing at the end. Gonna be completely honest with you, I don't think, without the androids, or at least fighters of an equivalent power level, I actually don't think they make it out of this fight. Unless there's circumstances where, let's say, Goku has an enhanced god form beyond Super Saiyan Blue, like a Super Saiyan Blue 2 or a 3, or a Super Saiyan 4 mixed with Super Saiyan God, or Ultra Instinct early on that's been mastered. If that doesn't happen, then you taking the main key fighters out of the equation ends the story, because they're going to lose. Jiren probably doesn't have quite the moral compass enough to wish everyone back. He even said that's not what he was going to wish for, if I recall. So the story ends with all the universes wiped out. So yes, actually, Trunks, make sure you get your timelines right, and don't try to affect the timeline too early. But that's my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. So we ended the next 3 Dragon Balls. We will throw out 2 My Hero What Ifs, both Devil Fruit and Zanpakuto. I'll put a poll up for which one you want, and we'll go from there. And then we'll move on to another 3 Dragon Balls. And then we'll move on to 3 My Heroes, or 3 whatever non-Dragon Ball ones, and so forth and so on. And that's the order we're going to be doing these for time being. Because again, with My Hero wrapped up, it gives me the full leeway to be able to actually go into My Hero. And I know that there are I got one particular viewer, and I'm sure you'll see this because you like the Dragon Ball stuff, that wants more of the Dragon Ball content than, say, the Naruto, because they've never read or watched Naruto or My Hero. And to you, I'm glad you like this content, but did you really go through every single what if I had on the channel? Because I've done a lot of freaking what ifs that are multi-part, that are Dragon Ball. But also, I appreciate it. I don't mean to sound rude when I say this. It's not just about you, my friend. It is about everyone who wants to watch all varieties of things. So you have to take that in mind when you make those suggestions. Since I'm bitching and moaning about my viewers, I'm not. But I had a viewer comment something really stupid, and not something stupid like they were being political, but something where it's like, basically, you can find this. It was Alex Mercer, anyway, from Prototype in Star Wars, and he basically said, "You clearly don't know anything about Prototype if you think, because he would own Star Wars." And then I'm like, okay, what? All right, I'm reading it, and then he ended with, "Yeah, he's at least planetary to low galactic level." I'm like, and I had to double check. Did I misrecycle? No. And then I looked at their name. I'm not going to say what their name is, but I'm like, okay, you're clearly biased. That's bullshit, and you should know it's bullshit. It's like, he is not that strong. So, yeah, I'm just like, occasionally I just see comments where I go, I'm not going to bother responding to this. But I feel like I want to just express my feelings, at least verbally. I'm not going to type it. It's the same thing where, people making stupid comments. Because I run a channel, I actually have to hold myself, I think, to a higher standard than other people, because I can't get into a flame war with people in the comments. Not that I'd want to do that anyway. Because I gotta set at least some level of example of what a content creator should kind of behave like, and what I want to try to behave like, and represent myself as. So when someone says, so when I make a joke in a comment and someone goes, yeah, duh, they explained what this meant before. I'm like, dude, it's a joke. It's like, it's not a joke because, no, it's a joke. You're an idiot. And you're an ass because you opened your comment with duh, which means you're already punching down, which means you wanted to act superior to someone else. So there you go. Anyway, I bitched and moaned. There's my little TED Talk. Have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you for the next one. Later.